Okay, let's set the scene. Imagine the high, windswept plains near the iconic Shiprock Peak in New Mexico. It's a land defined by, ancient traditions, spiritual
A
harmony.
very ordered place, often quiet.
Exactly. And then on this brutally cold afternoon at the Shiprock Economy Washamat, everything just
It's
shatters.
such an ordinary place, a laundromat. But what 81-year-old Hosteen Joseph Joe witnesses is a confrontation that is just um, utterly alien to the Navajo landscape.
Tell us what he sees.
A young Navajo driver pulls up, and the first thing he does is yell at this respected elder.
Which is a huge deal, a profound violation of
It's a
courtesy.
massive one. And he's demanding information. Then, just moments later, this anonymous second car arrives. A man in a plaid coat steps out, and before Hosteen Joe can even process the tension, the air is just split by gunfire.
2 men fall, 1 wounded, 1 maybe dead.
And the driver speeds off. That chaotic scene, a high-level organized crime hit, playing out in a laundromat parking lot on sovereign land. That is the opening shot of our deep dives today.
And our mission is to follow the investigation, led by Navajo Tribal Police Officer Jim Chee.
Chee is so uniquely situated for this. I mean, he's an alumnus of the FBI Academy. He's trained in all the modern empirical police methods.
The white man's way, so to speak.
Right. But he's also a dedicated student of the Navajo Way, the Dain Baikya. He's committed to living in spiritual harmony, or Hazro. And this case forces him to walk a razor's edge between these two worlds.
We've taken a deep dive into the extensive source material covering this investigation, and it is a sprawling, multi-jurisdictional nightmare. You've got the FBI, the LAPD, the NTP, all stepping on each other's toes.
And you see, the only way Chee can solve this seemingly random murder, which, as we'll find out, traces back to a massive cross-continental organized crime conspiracy, is by confronting and really understanding the profound cultural taboos of his own people.
So we're using Chee's investigation as a roadmap. We'll show you how these little nuggets of Navajo spiritual knowledge, specifically the fear of the chindi,
That's the malevolent ghost left behind by the deceased.
and the significance of simple things like yucca suds and reverse shoes become the forensic evidence that the federal agents completely miss.
You're going to gain a really detailed understanding of how cultural insight was the one key that could unlock this incredibly sophisticated conspiracy.
Okay, let's unpack that initial violence at the washermat. You said it starts not with the shooting, but with the disrespect shown by the driver, Albert Gorman. Why is that so important?
Because it immediately signals discord. It's a complete lack of hosro. Gorman, who is visibly Navajo, pulls up and just bellows, "Hey,
They meant
come here a minute."
to an 81-year-old man.
To an 81-year-old man who is a Hosteen. That's an honorific it's reserved for a highly respected elder. Yelling at him like that is the polar opposite of courteous Navajo conditioning. It's an American way, a non-Navajo way of demanding attention.
So it immediately puts Joseph Joe on guard.
Completely alienates him.
Yeah.
And Hosteen Joe is a sharp observer. He notices another detail about Gorman's car, the license plates.
They were blue.
That's right. Not the yellow plates in New Mexico or the white plates of Arizona, where most of the reservation traffic comes from.
Blue plates suggest he's from far away.
California, most likely.
Hmm.
And Gorman is frantic. He's looking for a man named Leroy Gorman, a relative who had recently moved to the area. This panicked, disrespectful approach, it just sets the whole scene on edge.
And just as this is happening, the second car arrives. The Ford sedan with rental plates.
This is where things escalate, and fast.
Mm-hmm.
The man who gets out, the plaid coat man, we later learn his name is Lerner, he is clearly a professional. He just zeroes in on Albert Gorman.
And what does he say?
The words are chilling. They're so focused. He says, "You forgot to do what you were told. You've got to come along with me. You're not supposed to be here."
He's basically reading him the riot act in public.
Exactly. And then he realizes he has a witness. He turns to Joseph Joe and just dismisses him abruptly. "We've got business, old man. You go away now."
The moment Joe turns away, it just erupts.
It's swift. It's brutal. The source describes this sharp clap of a pistol shot, and then 3 more right after. When the dust settles, Lerner is down, probably dead or close to it.
And Albert Gorman.
He's hit, but he's still mobile. He clutches his car door for support, somehow gets in, and just floors it, heading south toward Quitnos Post or Gallup. The collision is complete. High-stakes organized crime meets a quiet afternoon laundry run.
And this is where our protagonist, Officer Jim Chee, comes in. This is where the systemic conflict begins. Chee, trained at Quantico, is immediately boxed in by his own captain, Largo.
Largo sees this as purely 100% federal jurisdiction.
So Chee's in a bind.
That's the definition of his dilemma. He's the most qualified person on the tribal police force to handle something this complex, but he's instantly relegated to the role of a glorified tracker. Largo is very explicit. Chee is to use his Navajo knowledge.
Specifically the clan system.
Exactly. He's to use the clan system to find Albert Gorman.
Can you explain for our listener how the clan system would actually work as a police tool on the reservation?
Of course. It's the fundamental roadmap for kinship. For a Navajo, your identity is defined by your mother's clan, which you were born for, and your father's clan, which you were born into.
So it's a social GPS?
It is. To find Gorman, Chee has to identify his mother's clan and his father's clan. With that information, he can locate the homes of his maternal and paternal relatives. And those are the only truly logical places for a Navajo to seek safety and shelter on the reservation. The whole system is built on the absolute importance of kin.
But his orders are to stop right there.
Crystal clear. The order from Largo is Chee finds, Chee calls in, Chee leaves it at that.
So Largo is basically saying, your cultural knowledge is useful, but your detective skills are not welcome here.
And the reason is that an FBI agent was killed on this same case back in Los Angeles. It's made the agency, as the sources put it, extra touchy.
That federal sensitivity creates this hard wall between Chee and the actual investigation.
It does. And this friction, it isn't just external between agencies. It's internal for Chee. It's constant. And you see this manifest so clearly in his relationship with the non-Navajo deputy assigned to him, a man named Bales.
The detail about periodic reassurance is just perfect. It's such a small, subtle observation, but it tells you everything about the tension he lives with daily.
It's a brilliant detail. Chee observes that Deputy Bales constantly expects him to provide this periodic reassurance in conversation. Little verbal confirmations, head nods,
The stuff we do without thinking.
right? And Chee identifies this as a white man's custom that's totally contrary to courteous Navajo conditioning.
Yeah.
When Navajos are conversing, silence means you're listening. There's no need for constant feedback. Chee finds this need for explicit confirmation to be irritating. A minor but relentless drain.
So he's constantly code switching.
Constantly. He's mediating not just two legal systems, but two entirely different ways of processing reality and social interaction, even with the person sitting right next to him in the patrol car.
And in the middle of all this, the most important piece of evidence just vanishes. And this is when Chee realizes the FBI is not operating in good faith. It all centers on a photograph.
It does. Chee, being a good cop, makes a point of going back to Hosteen Joseph Joe and interviewing him again. He pushes past the details of the shooting to what happened right before, and Joe confirms it. Albert Gorman pulled out his wallet, specifically from the money section, and showed him a photo,
What was in the picture?
an aluminum trailer. Joe described it as round on both ends, not like a modern, square mobile home. He thought it was possibly near some cottonwood trees with yellow leaves.
Which suggests a specific time of year, autumn, and a specific location.
A very identifiable location, probably a family gathering spot. But the truly crucial detail was the writing on the back. Joe saw an address, and in his words, something short, just 2 or 3 words written there. He couldn't read it.
So a clear, tangible clue. An address, a short message, a potential destination.
Absolutely. A smoking gun, you might say. And yet, when Chee compares notes, the photograph is completely absent from the official FBI evidence report that was supplied to the Navajo Tribal Police.
Gone.
Vanished. And this is the first loud signal of manipulation. Hosteen Joe confirmed that the FBI agent, Sharkey, had interviewed him and asked specifically about the picture, so Sharkey knew it existed. For the photo, and any mention of the writing on the back, to just disappear. It means the FBI is actively hiding or deleting vital investigative information.
And this forces Chee, against Largo's direct orders, to start thinking like a detective again, not just a tracker.
He has to. He have to ask himself, why would they suppress a clue that points directly to the victim's intended destination? It becomes clear the agency isn't just pursuing a simple fugitive, they're protecting something. Or concealing something far, far greater.
So Chee starts tracking Albert Gorman's movements using his clan knowledge as ordered, and the trail eventually leads him and Deputy Bales high into the Cheska Mountains. We're talking over 8,000 feet.
Right, to the secluded Hogan of Hosteen Ashie Begay. And this is the pivotal moment. This is where the police procedural ends and the investigation becomes deeply spiritual and cultural.
The physical setting itself is important.
Very. The Hogan itself is well built. It's neat. It suggests Begay was a man who maintained Hazaro harmony and balance in his life. But the very first thing Chee notices immediately suggests spiritual chaos.
The smoke pipe.
The short tin smoke pipe jutting from the conical roof. It appears to be closed by something that was pressed up into it from the inside.
And what does a blocked smoke hole signify in the Navajo way?
She knows there is, and I quote, just one reason to block a Hogan smoke hole. A death has occurred inside. When someone dies within the walls of a traditional home, that structure becomes contaminated.
Contaminated by the chindi.
By the chindi. And let's pause on this, because for you, our listener, understanding the chindi is absolutely essential to understanding the gravity of what she finds.
So what is it exactly? It's more than just a ghost, isn't it?
Oh, much more. The chindi is the malevolent part of a person's spirit. It's the physical manifestation of the deceased's bad parts, the things they left unresolved, their anti-spirit.
And it's dangerous.
Extremely. Traditional Navajo teaching dictates absolute avoidance of the chindi because exposure can cause what's known as ghost sickness. The most stringent taboo in Navajo life is to never speak the name of the dead.
Why?
Because even the sound of the name can attract the chindi. It's a powerful, dangerous force.
So if a death occurs in a hogan, the occupants don't just, clean up and move on. The entire structure is spiritually condemned.
Precisely. A death hogan is instantly rendered a chindi hogan. It must be abandoned, must be sealed to contain that spiritual contamination.
Which brings us back to what Chee and Bales find.
They follow a trail of disturbed weeds and dust from the hogan, and it leads them to a talus slope, rocky hillside. And there, rocks have been pried and pushed down to create a makeshift grave, a rockslide burial, and under it, they find a body.
Albert Gorman.
Albert Gorman. And the hogan itself seems to confirm that the proper taboo has been honored.
The staging is meticulous.
It seems so at first. The smoke holes block, as we said, and they find the ultimate sign of abandonment. The north wall is broken open.
The corpse hole.
The corpse hole. The body must exit through the north, ensuring the living never use the regular east-facing entrance again. It's a way of guaranteeing the structure remains abandoned forever. And she notes that Begay, the elder who lived there, must have gone to terribly hard work to do all this.
Which underscores how powerful the fear of the chindi is. It's a violation that requires this enormous sacrifice to contain.
Yes. So the scene seems to tell the FBI a very simple story. Gorman died here, and the resident, Hostine Begay, followed tradition and fled in terror of the ghost sickness. Case closed on that front.
But Chee, using his intimate knowledge of ceremonial custom, instantly sees fatal flaws in this narrative.
This is where his two worlds collide in the most useful way. This is where he earns his FBI Academy diploma while simultaneously honoring his traditional heritage. He knows who Begay was. He was a respected Hostine, known for his honor, his diligence in familial matters.
He wasn't just some guy.
Not at all. He belonged to the small Tazi Dini, the Turkey people clan, a very established, respected group. A man of this standing would never, ever botch a funeral rite, even under extreme stress.
So what were the specific critical irregularities in Gorman's corpse preparation that tipped Chee off?
The source details two traditional steps that are absolutely necessary for preparing a corpse for its journey into the next world. These are procedures Begay would have known as well as he knew his own name. First, the hair. The hair must be washed with yucca suds.
Yucca suds.
You take the yucca root, and when you pound it, it creates this powerful sudsing cleanser. It's used in all sorts of ceremonies and purifications. It's a sacred act. Gorman's hair was unwashed.
A huge omission. What's the second irregularity?
The second, and this is maybe even more crucial, is the matter of the shoes. To confuse the chindi, to make sure that the malevolent spirit doesn't follow the good spirit of the deceased back to the community and cause ghost sickness, the shoes must be reversed on the feet.
You're sending the body off with its spiritual GPS scrambled.
That's a perfect way to put it. Gorman's shoes were either on the proper way or missing entirely, but there was absolutely no evidence of the reversal ritual.
So the scene is an almost perfect imitation of a death hogan, but it fails on two fundamental spiritual customs known by every devout Navajo.
Exactly. The person who staged the scene knew enough to seal the smoke hole and break the north wall, the big structural requirements. But they lack the essential spiritual knowledge of the funeral rite itself.
Which tells Chee that Begay did not prepare the body.
And in fact, that someone outside the Navajo way was attempting to cover their tracks by mimicking the chindi avoidance ritual. This transforms the scene from a simple case of spiritual flight to a meticulously staged crime scene. And it forces Chee to push past Largo's restrictive orders.
And linking it back to Hazaro, Begay's place was the physical manifestation of his being in beauty. Abandoning it, especially through a botched purification, is an unthinkable act for a Hostine unless he was forced to.
It implies an external, highly destructive force was at work, something capable of disrupting the deepest harmony of the dyna. And that's the critical point. An FBI agent, protected by his own ignorance, can walk into that chindi Hogan and focus only on the dead man, Albert Gorman.
But she sees the whole picture.
Chee sees the entire environment. The lack of yucca suds, the blocked smoke hole, the forced abandonment. To him, this is all forensic evidence pointing toward a cover-up and very likely a third victim, Hosteen Begay himself.
The search for the person who staged the Hogan now forces Chee to pivot. He moves from one dead Navajo man to a missing Navajo girl, and this is what draws him away from Shiprock and right into the chaos of Los Angeles.
Right. Captain Largo, who is still completely unaware of Chee's deeper cultural suspicions, assigns him a new case. The missing person file for Margaret Billy Sosi.
Who is Hosteen Begay's 17-year-old granddaughter.
Exactly. She's a student at St. Catherine Indian School in Santa Fe. The link is her grandfather, Begay. He mailed Margaret this frantic letter the day after the Shiprock shooting, warning her to stay away, telling her that Gorman was dangerous.
And Chee, using his tracking skills, eventually finds Margaret. But he finds her back at the most unlikely place imaginable.
He tracks her to the Chindi Hogan itself. She was hiding there after running away from school.
Why on earth would she go there?
Her reasoning is just heartbreakingly tragic. She believed that her grandfather, a man she saw as holy, a man of such purity and tradition, would leave no Chindi behind him. She thought his spirit would have departed cleanly, so in her mind, the Hogan was the safest place on the entire reservation.
But of course, Chee now knows this belief is fatally flawed.
Because Begay was likely murdered, and the scene was staged by outsiders. Margaret flees before Chee can fully question her, and this leaves him in this place of terrible cultural decision.
Yeah.
He realizes he has to go into the Hogan. He must intentionally violate the deepest taboo of his people to search for clues.
He steps through the north wall, the corpse hole.
Into the heart of the Chindi sickness. And the source really stresses this as the defining symbol of his internal crisis. By entering, he is consciously taking on the moral and spiritual contamination of the white man's world.
He's choosing his job.
He's choosing his job, his analytical logic, and his relationship with his non-Navajo girlfriend, Mary Landon, over the fundamental principle of Hosro. And inside, he finds that Begay had stripped the place bare, which confirms a meticulous staging, but he finds little else. This just solidifies his belief that Begay was silenced.
So the investigation now takes him to Los Angeles, where he meets an LAPD arson detective named Shaw. And Shaw is the one who brings the first real understanding of the criminal operation that spilled blood onto the Navajo Nation.
Shaw has a profound personal stake at all this. His friend, an SBI agent named Kenneth Upchurch, died while investigating this exact same network. And Shaw lays it all out for Chee. He details the vast operation of a company called McNair Factoring. It's an old import-export business operating out of the San Pedro docks.
On the surface, it sounds legitimate.
Totally. They imported legal goods, coffee, cocoa. But their real profit, their real business, came from the exports.
Stolen cars.
The highest-end stolen luxury cars. We're talking Ferraris, Mercedes.
Right.
They leveraged their existing international shipping to export these cars to sophisticated buyers in South America, such as Argentina and Colombia, and also to Asia.
And the stakes here are colossal. This is way beyond simple auto theft.
Absolutely. Shaw reveals the intelligence that his friend, Agent Upchurch, had gathered. Upchurch spent years building a solo case, and he proved that McNair Factoring was directly tied to high-level money laundering for the Colombia cocaine trade.
So the cars were a commodity.
A high-value, hard-to-trace commodity used to move massive amounts of narcotics money across international borders. Upchurch had actually succeeded. He secured indictments against McNair and his associates, including the theft manager, a guy named Robert Benno. But then, just before the trial, Upchurch died.
Officially, a coronary.
Officially a heart attack, but Shaw has zero doubt it was murder, designed specifically to derail the trial.
Okay, this explains why the FBI is so jumpy and so secretive. The stakes are federal, international, and there's a dead agent involved. It could even involve compromised assets within the Bureau.
Exactly.
But how do Albert and Leroy Gorman fit into this global structure?
They were the local talent. Expert car thieves working on commission, specializing in the specific high-end models McNair wanted. Leroy Gorman, Albert's brother, was caught cold with a stolen Mercedes and a hot wire kit,
So he was in deep trouble.
facing immense pressure and serious jail time. Shaw's theory is that Leroy flipped. He became a protected federal witness under the assumed name Grayson.
And where did the feds decide to hide a protected federal witness who could blow open a multi-million-dollar cocaine money laundering ring?
On the Navajo Reservation, a place they assumed would be quiet, remote, and culturally separate from the chaos of L.A.
So Albert Gorman, the dead man in the Hogan, he wasn't just visiting.
He was trying to find his brother, and McNair's crew was following him, hoping he would lead them straight to Leroy.
This brings us to the man McNair dispatched to handle this problem, Eric Vegan. His profile's just terrifying. He's not just a thug, he's something else.
He's a highly disciplined, almost mythological figure of calculated brutality. Vagan is McNair's collection and enforcement manager. He's characterized by this obsessive military discipline and a deep, grim isolation. He is completely detached from ordinary morality.
He has a whole philosophy.
A dark one. It centers around being a survivor of a rotting civilization. The sources note he listens exclusively to Wagner, specifically Götterdämmerung, the twilight of the gods, because he sees the world as destined for this catastrophic collapse.
Eddie Prepper.
A serious one. He's actively prepping a survival bunker, and he's meticulously calculated that 14 Soviet warheads are targeted on the greater Los Angeles area alone. His violence isn't random, it's existential.
And to really understand the level of professionalism and terror Vegan embodies, we have to talk about the Jay Leonard anecdote. This was a TV host who welched on a $120,000 gambling debt to McNair. And the goal here wasn't just punishment, it was publicity.
This is a perfect illustration of Vagan's methodology. McNair wanted to ensure every single debtor in L.A. knew the consequences of not paying. So Vagan's planning was surgical. First, he dealt with the obstacles. Leonard had 2 guard Dobermans.
What did he do to them?
He killed them. And then he methodically beheaded them. No loose hands. It's about sending a message of total dominance. Then, to ensure the police couldn't be alerted immediately, he found the central burglar alarm control box.
And just cut the wire?
Oh, no. Much more elegant. He sealed it completely with expanding foam insulation. It makes the whole system inert. You can't fix it. You can't bypass it. It's brilliant in a terrifying way.
And the centerpiece of the brutality, the message left on the victim.
He used cattle ear tags, the kind you use to brand and track livestock, and he crimped them through Jay Leonard's ears. It's agonizing. It's deeply humiliating. It brands him as property.
But the final step was ensuring press coverage.
The masterstroke. Vagan personally called the emergency room, the city desk of the LA Times, and the network TV newsrooms to guarantee the story made the front page and was the lead item on the nightly newscasts.
The brutality was designed for publicity.
Exactly. Vagan got a huge bonus for this job. His methods are not just about violence. They are about leveraging media, maximizing fear, and operating with a military efficiency that turns human beings into objects. This is the ruthlessness. Chee is now up against a world away from the spiritual rules of the Dinah.
So Chee has identified the organization, the stakes, and the enforcer, but he's still missing a final piece. How did the McNair crew know Albert Gorman was heading for the reservation? And how did they find the location of the protected witness, Leroy Grayson Gorman?
The answer lies back in Los Angeles, through a witness who seems on the surface to be completely frail and unreliable.
Mr. Berger.
Mr. Berger. Chee goes back to the area near Gorman's LA apartment and finds him. He's an old man residing in the Silver Threads rest home. He uses a walking frame, and he struggles severely with verbal communication because of a stroke.
So a tough interview.
For a typical federal agent, maybe impossible. But this is where Chee's patience and dedication to observation pay off. He slows everything down. He uses visual cues, patience, and eventually pantomime.
And what does Berger tell him?
He confirms that a big, blond man, which matches Vagan, not the shorter, plaid-coated learner, came to see Gorman the night before he left.
A huge contradiction to the official narrative.
Massive. Berger couldn't articulate the confrontation, but he demonstrated it vividly. He slammed his hand against a flat surface, indicating a car door, and then he pointed emphatically at his own finger.
Gorman slammed a car door on Vagan's finger. That's an incredible piece of nonverbal testimony.
It confirms a significant struggle. Gorman did not leave willingly, which completely contradicts the idea that he was just going to visit family. He actively resisted Vagan, and he injured the enforcer.
And that injury explains why Lerner was sent to Shiprock instead of Vagan.
Exactly. Vagan, with his obsessive discipline, would never execute a critical mission with a broken or injured finger. That one minor injury forced him to substitute personnel. He had to send the less professional Lerner, the plaid coat man, who ended up dead in the laundromat parking lot.
And Berger also confirms the critical clue.
He does. He confirms that Gorman showed him the picture of the aluminum trailer from his brother, and he was worried.
This changes the entire timeline.
It blows it up. McNair's crew didn't just follow Albert Gorman. They knew where he was going. Vagan was there to stop Gorman from reaching Leroy, the protected witness. The whole FBI narrative that they were just tracking a fugitive is completely collapsing.
Chee's investigation is then interrupted when he himself is attacked by Vagan.
And Margaret Sosi, the missing girl, ends up saving his life. But after he recovers from a concussion, Chee returns to the Chuskas because he realizes the true extent of the staging. He knows there's something else to find.
And he finds Hostine Begay's body.
He finds what he should have found initially. And it was not afforded the semi-ceremonial rock-slide burial that was given to Gorman. Begay was found just dumped, unceremoniously, in a wash, shot in the head.
The disparity is the proof.
It confirms everything. Begay was not the man staging the shindy scene. He was an inconvenient witness who was eliminated quickly and disrespectfully.
And there's one final piece of physical evidence that proves Begay was murdered and didn't flee in fear of the chindi.
It's the discovery of Begay's most treasured possession, his Four Mountains bundle. Chee finds it hidden in the log lintel of the Hogan's east door.
We need to understand what this bundle represents to a man like Begay.
It's his entire spiritual identity. The bundle contains 4 smaller, delicate doeskin pouches. Inside those pouches are sacred objects and earth that's been gathered from the 4 sacred peaks that define the boundaries of the Navajo Nation, Mount Taylor, Hesperus Peak, the San Francisco Peaks, and Blanca Peak.
So this bundle is his connection to the very land of the Dinah.
His history, his identity, everything. Hostine Begay would never have left this behind in a contaminated Chindi Hogan. It would be like leaving his own soul. This bundle is the ultimate proof that Begay was silenced, and that the entire scene Gorman buried, the Hogan sealed, was meticulously staged by the criminals.
It was a cultural smokescreen.
Designed specifically to discourage any further investigation by those, like Chee, who respect the Navajo way.
So all the details, physical and cultural, now point toward massive federal malfeasance. The only missing piece of the puzzle is the precise message on the back of that Polaroid. The 2 or 3 words Joseph Joe couldn't read.
Chee finally tracks down Margaret Sosi again. He finds her at a Ghostway ceremony.
Which is a ceremony specifically designed to cure chindi sickness. How fitting.
Incredibly fitting. And he presses her for the exact message.
And what does she finally tell him?
She confirms the address, she confirms the signature, Leroy, and then she gives him the critical 3-word message. Don't trust nobody.
Don't trust nobody. That simple, desperate warning is the key that unlocks the entire conspiracy.
It confirms everything Shaw, the LAPD detective, originally suspected. It leads to Chee's ultimate breakthrough theory, one that perfectly exploits the death of Agent Upchurch and the veil of secrecy surrounding the witness protection program.
What's the theory?
The genuine Leroy Gorman, the real witness, realized McNair's operation had found him. He sent that desperate warning to his brother Albert, but McNair's crew intercepted it, killed the real Leroy Gorman, and then executed the most stunning strategic move possible. They replaced him.
They replaced him with Robert Benno.
Robert Benno. McNair's own theft manager, the guy who was already indicted on Upchurch's original case.
So McNair installed his own operative as the star federal witness.
Now impersonating Grayson under the full protection of the FBI. The secrecy and the compartmentalization of the witness protection program prevented anyone from cross-checking the identity thoroughly. It's a ghost in the machine.
And this move guarantees McNair's acquittal. His star witness is now his own manager.
And it gives McNair incredible, unassailable leverage against the federal government forever. It explains everything. The missing photograph. It was the warning. The staged chindi scene to prevent culturally knowledgeable investigation. And the fact that McNair's crew knew exactly where to find Grayson.
Because Grayson was Robert Benno, their own man.
The final confrontation is just Chee testing this theory. He asks Grayson Benotto to drive off in a specific direction to flush out Vagan. And Benno, who thinks Chee is just this naive, easily manipulated Navajo cop, leaves to confer with his boss, Vagan.
He takes the bait.
Completely. And it leads to the final, necessary shootout, during which Margaret Sosi, the runaway girl, uses Vagan's dropped pistol to provide the decisive intervention, securing Chee's safety and solving the entire case.
So if we look back at the beginning, the dead men, the missing photo, the federal obstruction, Jim Chee's success hinged entirely on his cultural knowledge. It's really incredible.
It is. The FBI saw an abandoned Hogan. Chee saw a failure to wash hair with yucca suds. That one simple detail led him to cut through high-level organized crime, federal corruption, and the deepest secrecy of the Witness Protection Program.
He was the only person who could have done it.
He was uniquely positioned to bridge those two worlds. The FBI viewed the scene through a purely empirical external lens, ballistics, documents, evidence bags. Chee viewed it through the lens of spiritual harmony of Hasro.
And the Four Mountains bundle was the final confirmation.
When that was found, it confirmed that the spiritual cost of abandoning one's identity was higher than the physical fear of death. That was the piece of evidence the federal agents, with all their technology, could never have deciphered.
And yet, the resolution of this continental crime doesn't resolve Chee's own internal, decades-long conflict, the conflict between his modern life and his Navajo identity.
No, it doesn't. And the sources provide this really poignant closing note on his relationship with Mary Landon.
She finally understands.
She finally validates his struggle. She offers to stay on the reservation. She tells him, explicitly, "I won't force my Jim Chee to be a white man." She recognizes that his attempt to fully assimilate has created this unbearable internal split.
So logically, that should solve his crisis. He has the job, he has the girl, and he solved the biggest case of his career using his own methods.
It should. But Chee's final, deeply symbolic action suggests that he realizes the price he paid for solving this case was a kind of spiritual contamination.
What does he do?
Despite Mary's acceptance, Chee arranges to undergo a Ghostway cure for himself. He seeks it from an elder, Hushtein Lilbin. He realizes that he too is infected, not by Albert Gorman's ghost, but by the, quote, darkness of the white man's world.
The world he had to embrace to solve the case.
The world of corruption, of calculation, of pure empirical reality that he chose when he stepped through the north wall of that Chindi Hogan. When he chose Los Angeles and police work over the principles of Hasro.
So he didn't just need to solve the crime. He needed purification from the moral injury of having to violate his own beliefs to do his job.
Exactly. And in seeking that cure, he makes a choice for the future of his people. The source notes that only 2 men were left who knew the entire Ghostway ceremony, Little Ben and his old uncle. And Chee decides he will talk to Little Ben about learning the ritual himself.
Wow.
This is his final, definitive dedication to the Navajo way. He recognizes the desperate, ongoing effort that's required to keep us being Navajos, and to prevent this vital spiritual knowledge from being completely erased by the pressures of the modern world.
So what does this deep dive ultimately mean for you, the learner? The sources reveal this profound ongoing crisis for the Daina. They were able to defeat a massive high-tech conspiracy that spanned 2 continents because Jim Chee remembered to check for yucca suds and reversed shoes.
But the knowledge required to heal the soul from that encounter, the Ghostway ceremony, is on the verge of extinction. It's known by only 2 living men.
So for people whose identity, whose history, whose sense of harmony, Hasro, are all tied entirely to their spiritual rituals, the question we are left with is this: what is the deepest kind of loss in the world of the Daina?
If you solve the crime and bring justice to the physical world, but you simultaneously allow the knowledge required to heal the spirit to fade away, have you truly won? Something to think about long after you've left the shadow of Shiprock.